Welcome to the Pages and Ideas channel. Today, we will explore the book Grit by Angela Duckworth, which focuses on perseverance and passion as keys to success. Let's dive in. Topic 1. What is grit and why is it so important? In a world where talent and intelligence are often seen as the key ingredients for success, Angela Duckworth proves that something else matters even more: grit. But what exactly is grit? And why does it make the difference between those who persist until the end and those who give up halfway through? Grit isn't just about working hard. It's not just persistence or patience. It's the combination of passion and resilience in the face of obstacles. It's knowing that success doesn't happen overnight, but is built through years of effort, failures, and continuous improvement. Grit versus talent, who wins in the end? Many people believe that if you're born with a special gift, like mathematical intelligence, artistic skill, or athletic ability, you are destined for success. But reality tells a different story. Take, for example, the story of James Dyson, the famous inventor of Dyson vacuum cleaners. Before becoming a billionaire, he spent 15 years working on over 5,000 failed prototypes before finally perfecting his revolutionary bagless vacuum cleaner. Most people would have given up after 10, 50, or 100 failures. But Dyson had grit. He didn't see every failure as proof that he wasn't good enough, but rather as another step toward refining his idea. This is grit in action, not seeing failure as the end, but as part of the journey. And that's why people with grit tend to stand out in the long run. Not because they're necessarily more talented than others, but because they persist longer. The science behind grit. Angela Duckworth studied people from various fields: military academies, sports teams, top artists, and entrepreneurs, and discovered that grit is the strongest predictor of success. In one of her studies, she measured the resilience and commitment of hundreds of students at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. Surprisingly, those who performed best weren't the smartest or the strongest, but those who had the greatest determination to keep going even when things got tough. The same applies to every aspect of life. Talent may give you a slight advantage at the beginning, but if you don't combine it with dedication and hard work, it won't take you far. Long-term success depends more on consistency and persistence than on natural talent or initial skills. Why does grit matter to you? We're not just talking about people who want to become world champions or build multi-million-dollar businesses. Grit impacts every aspect of life. Do you want to learn a new language? You won't master it in a week, but if you practice a little every day, you'll eventually become fluent. Do you want to grow a successful YouTube channel? Great ideas aren't enough. You need to keep going even when views are low and progress is slow. Do you want to achieve your ideal fitness level? It won't happen in a month, but with steady effort, you'll get there. Grit is the difference between those who give up because they don't see immediate results and those who understand that success is a marathon, not a sprint. Final thoughts. If there's one thing you should take away from this video, it's that success doesn't belong to the most talented. It belongs to those who persist the longest. You don't need to be born gifted to achieve great things. What you need is patience, dedication, and the ability to get back up every time you fall. In the next part, we'll explore how you can develop grit in your life with practical strategies you can start using today. Stay tuned. Topic 2. How is grit developed? Are you born with it, or can you build it? Is grit something you're born with, or can it be developed? This is one of the most important questions Angela Duckworth answers in her book. And the answer is clear. Grit is not innate, it is learned. We are not born with it. We cultivate it through our experiences, our environment, and the conscious choices we make every day. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to handle difficulties better than others, science suggests that grit is not about DNA. It's about mindset. The secret of resilient people. Imagine two people learning to play the guitar. One has a natural talent. They pick up chords quickly and play effortlessly. The other struggles from the beginning, taking a long time to learn even the basics. After a few weeks, the first person starts to feel like they're not improving fast enough and loses interest. The second, despite the difficulties, keeps practicing daily. Who do you think will be playing better after a year? The talented one who quit, or the one who, despite struggling, never gave up? The same principle applies to everything in life. It doesn't matter how easily or quickly you pick up a skill at first. What determines your success is your willingness to keep going when things get tough. Your environment shapes your grit. While grit isn't something you're born with, it is influenced by your surroundings. People who grow up in environments that emphasize persistence and commitment tend to develop higher levels of grit. For example, studies show that athletes who grew up in families where hard work and resilience were highly valued developed a stronger mindset. They didn't always start with an advantage, but they learned to see failure as a lesson rather than an obstacle. So here's the question. Does your environment help you develop grit, or does it discourage you? If you're surrounded by people who give up easily or believe that success only comes to those who are naturally gifted, it becomes harder to develop grit. But the good news is, you don't have to rely on your environment. You can create your own conditions for growth. How can you develop grit? Grit is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. Angela Duckworth suggests 3 key ways to develop it. 1. Find your passion and commit to it long term. Most people switch goals too quickly because they don't see immediate results. The most successful ones stick to a goal for years, even when things get tough. 2. Learn to love the process, not just the outcome. Focusing only on success can be frustrating, especially when progress is slow. People with grit enjoy the journey and don't quit just because they don't see instant results. 3. Accept failure as part of the process. If you see failure as proof that you're not good enough, you'll quit every time you face a challenge. But if you see it as an opportunity to learn, every setback will make you stronger. Grit isn't just for special people. Many people think that only athletes, scientists, or entrepreneurs need grit. But if you think about it, grit affects every part of life. When you want to start a new habit, you won't always feel motivated, but if you stick with it, it will become second nature. When you're working on a big project, there will be times when you feel like you're not making progress, but grit will keep you going. When you're going through a difficult period, grit is what helps you push forward even when everything feels like it's falling apart. It's no coincidence that the most successful people in the world aren't necessarily the smartest. They are the most committed. Final thoughts. Grit isn't a magical trait you're born with. It's something you can develop if you have the right mindset and choose not to quit. In the next part, we'll explore specific practical techniques to build grit in your life so you can face any challenge with resilience and determination. Stay tuned. Topic 3. How to build grit in your life. Practical strategies. We now understand what grit is and why it's so important. But how do we actually develop it? How can we strengthen our resilience and persistence so that we don't give up when things get tough? In this part, we'll go over specific practical strategies that you can start applying immediately to build grit in your life. This isn't just theory. These are the same tools used by top athletes, entrepreneurs, and artists to stay committed for the long haul. 1. Set long-term goals and stick to them. Grit isn't just about working hard. It's about working hard for a long time. The people who stick with a goal for years, despite failures, are the ones who succeed. If you constantly switch goals because you don't see immediate results, you're not giving yourself enough time to succeed. Instead of focusing on how fast you can reach the top, commit to the journey. If you have a YouTube channel, don't judge your success based on your first 10 or 20 uploads. Set a goal to create 100 videos and then evaluate your progress. If you want to get in shape, don't expect major changes in a month. Commit to the process for at least a year. The secret is to see your goals long-term and keep pushing forward even when progress is slow. 2. Get comfortable with discomfort. Grit doesn't mean you never feel discouraged. It means you learn to handle discomfort without giving up. Think about a marathon runner training for a big race. They don't always enjoy running. There are days when they're in pain, exhausted, and tempted to quit. But they keep going. Why? Because they know that discomfort is part of the process. The same applies to any big goal. It's not easy to wake up early for the gym. It's not easy to work on a project for months without recognition. But this is where grit comes in, continuing even when you don't feel like it. To develop this mindset, start recognizing discomfort and accepting it. Instead of saying, "I don't feel good, so I'll stop," try saying, "This is tough, but I can push through a little longer. I don't feel motivated today, but I'll do it anyway." These small shifts in thinking will make a huge difference in your long-term persistence. 3. Find a role model with grit. Research shows that when we see others demonstrating grit, our own level of persistence increases. Think of someone you admire, an athlete, an entrepreneur, a YouTuber. What makes them successful? Is it talent or the fact that they kept going when others quit? If you have a role model, it becomes easier to push forward when things get tough. Whenever you feel like giving up, ask yourself, what would this person do in my situation? Would they quit or would they keep pushing forward? This simple shift in perspective can give you the strength to keep going even when you feel drained. 4. Work with consistency, not motivation. Motivation is overrated. Successful people don't rely on motivation. They rely on consistency. You don't go to the gym only when you feel like it. You go because you're committed. You don't create content on YouTube only when you feel inspired. You do it because you have a schedule. The goal is to reach a point where your actions don't depend on your mood. How do you do this? Create a schedule and stick to it. Instead of relying on inspiration, make it a routine. If there's one thing to take away from this video, it's that grit isn't talent, it's a choice. It doesn't matter how naturally good you are at something. What matters is how determined you are to keep going. But here's the question. Do you want us to go even deeper? There are still more strategies we can explore. How to overcome major obstacles, how to shift your mindset for long-term success, and how to develop grit in every area of your life. If you're interested in a part 2, let us know in the comments. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. It really helps us reach more people. If you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. Stay strong, stay resilient, and I'll see you in the next video.